empire's administrator, and he'd been executed. And thus, all those that C. Janus had put into place of governorship, their loyalty was in question. And that's what the Jews were saying to me. If you don't put this man to death, we're going to tell Tiberius that you are not loyal to him. Well, there was no way in the world that I was going to risk my political career for a Galilean peasant. And so they forced my hand and they took him off to be executed. But I got back at them. I showed them that I was not in agreement with what they were doing. The Jews, oh wow, they love to wash their hands. They wash their hands and they wash their hands and they wash their hands in their ceremonies. So I summoned a servant to bring me a bowl of water, and I dipped my hands in the water and then dried them off in front of them and say, I wash my hands of all of this. This is your doing, not mine. And mocked their religious washing ceremonies. And then I had a plaque made and had it written in 3 languages of Hebrew, Latin, and Greek that said, the King of the Jews. Well, they howled like wolves when they saw it. Said, don't write that. Right? He claimed to be the King of the Jews. And I said, no, what I've written, I've written. And one last thing I did to show my displeasure with them for what they had done. Emperor Augustine had decreed that anybody guilty of revolt against the Roman Empire, which is what they were wanting me to try this Jesus for, anyone guilty of that crime could not have a proper burial. And once they were killed, their bodies were to be thrown out on the street for the dogs to come eat them, or the vultures. But when one of the followers of Jesus came and asked for his body, I decided to grant it to him. I checked with my Roman soldier, and indeed Jesus had died. And I was shocked because he died so quickly. The crucifixion began at noon, and by 3 he was gone. And I asked the Roman soldier, has he passed that quickly? They said, yes, he has. And I asked him how he knew that he was dead, and he said, because they'd run a spear inside of his abdomen, and all his bodily fluids had run out. And so, to spite the Jews, I granted Joseph the body so that he could be given a proper burial. Ha! The Jews, they're never happy. You'd think I'd done what they wanted. I'd kill this man, but they would have been content. He was no sooner dead than they were back in my face, wanting more. This time they said they wanted a detachment of soldiers to guard the body and to guard the tomb. They said something about he had prophesied that he might rise in 3 days. And they said if his servants or his followers steal his body away, the problem will be bigger than if he was alive. I just wanted to be done with it and it to be over. So I granted them a detachment of soldiers. And they went to guard the tomb. And it would have been just done and over with. It would have been long forgotten. I've executed many men. And he would have just been one amongst the many. But something happened. What happened is not exactly clear. There is one thing that everybody agrees upon, and that was the tomb where they laid him and rolled a stone in front of it to seal. Everyone agrees that the tomb was empty. And there was no body to be found. Well, Friday went by, nothing happened. Saturday went by, their high holy day, nothing happened. And then Sunday morning, I was awakened again very early in the morning. But this time it was one of my Roman soldiers. And he was ashen white and almost terrified to death to be in my presence. And I asked him what was going on. And he said that Jesus' followers had come to the tomb and overpowered the Romans and stolen the body. Well, I immediately sent for the Jews and asked them if this was true. And the Jewish leader said, yes, it was, that the body had been stolen by the followers of Jesus. but I could tell something wasn't right. So I had the leader of the Roman detachment of soldiers that had guarded the tomb. I had him flogged to make him tell me the truth. And finally he admitted that the Jews had paid them a sum of money to say that the body was stolen. I knew it. I could sense it from the beginning that something wasn't right. So what happened there at the tomb? Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And I'd ask him, what is truth? What truthfully happened there? I guess it depends on who you believe. If you believe the Jews, you believe the body was stolen. But I know this about the Jews and their leadership. They'll do anything to stay in power. They will do anything to protect their precious little religion. And the Roman soldiers, when I questioned them, they basically said all they saw was an angel outside the tomb. And they didn't know if this Jesus had turned into an angel or the angel had taken the body. They didn't know, but they never saw a body even come out of the grave. All I know about the Roman soldiers, they would say anything for a bribe. But the followers of this Jesus, you know what they say? Why, they say that He came back alive and that He lives forever and that He's built a spiritual kingdom that all those who believe in Him can share it. And boy, they're just as stubborn as He was. Herod seized one of them called James and told him to renounce his teaching that Jesus was alive. And when he wouldn't, he ran him through with a sword and killed him. And then there was another one by the name of Stephen. He too was preaching and teaching that the Jesus of Nazareth was alive. And the Jews got in such a worked up frenzy over him that they broke the Roman law. And I warned them over and over again. But they stoned this Stephen to death, which they had no right to do. But these followers of Jesus, they're just as stubborn as he was. It's as though his spirit is in them. And they say over and over again that he lives, that he rose from the grave. Do you know if what they say is true? Then I worship and follow and serve the wrong king. You see, if this Jesus, this peasant from Galilee, if he rose from the grave, then he's the one I should serve. And he's the one I should worship. Because he's done something that no Roman emperor ever did. No Roman emperor with all his power, with all his money, with all his army, no Roman emperor ever rose from the grave. And if he arose, then he's the one I should serve. Listen to me. Oh, I'm going mad living in this land of religious fanatics. I'm glad they're summoning me back to Rome. I need to get out of here. What is truth? What truthfully happened there that day? I guess that's something that each and every person will have to make up their own mind about. Was the body stolen? Did he turn into an angel? Or is it as his followers say?